And she was great. I loved her so. And we had a great relationship. And she worked and she was out there, and I would do whatever I wanted.
There are men who live for applause, and there are men who live for truth. Al Pacino, the boy from the Bronx who became the heartbeat of American cinema, never seemed to crave fame. Only expression. At 85, his face is a map of the years, carved with lines of passion, fury, and the quiet ache of remembrance. Behind those dark, searching eyes lies a lifetime of love stories. Some whispered, some written in the spotlight, all unforgettable. He once said, "Love isn't logical. It's the one thing that makes no sense, and yet it's everything." For decades, Pacino lived like his characters, torn between desire and duty, brilliance and solitude. The women who crossed his path weren't just lovers or muses, they were reflections of the man he was and the man he could never be. Today, we explore the 6 women Al Pacino admired the most. From the mother who taught him devotion to the lovers who taught him loss, this is not gossip, but a portrait of emotion. The story of Al Pacino is not one of scandal, but of longing, not of fame, but of feeling. And perhaps, by the end of it all, we'll see what he saw, that in a world built on illusion, love remains the only truth. Number 1. Rose Pacino. Before the fame, before the films, there was Rose, Al Pacino's mother, the woman who shaped his heart long before Hollywood could claim it. Born in East Harlem in 1940 and raised in the South Bronx, Pacino grew up in a small apartment filled with laughter, struggle, and the soft strength of a mother raising her only son alone. Rose Pacino poured her devotion into her son, her dreams a quiet undercurrent in their modest life. When Al spoke of her later in life, his voice would grow quiet, not out of sadness, but reverence. "I'm still here because of my mother," he wrote in his memoir, a testament to her enduring sacrifice. Rose was only 43 when she passed away in 1962, just as her son was beginning his uncertain journey toward acting. That loss became the shadow that followed him through life, the unspoken grief that bled into every performance. In The Godfather, when Michael Corleone watches his world collapse, it wasn't just fiction. It was the echo of a young man still mourning his mother's absence. He credited her with teaching him empathy, the secret ingredient that made his characters feel alive. Rose didn't just raise a son. She raised an artist capable of feeling everything. "I think about my mother all the time," Pacino admitted in a 1996 interview. Her presence, a constant guide in his work. In the end, every love that came after her was a reflection of that first devotion. Unconditional, impossible to replace. Rose Pacino was not only the woman who taught him love, she was the love he spent a lifetime trying to find again. Number 2. Diane Keaton. When The Godfather brought Al Pacino and Diane Keaton together in 1971, it wasn't just cinematic destiny. It was emotional alchemy. She was 25, quirky, radiant, filled with nervous laughter and a poet's soul. He was 31, brooding, magnetic, and already lost inside the depths of Michael Corleone. The chemistry was immediate and powerful. What began as on-screen passion bled into real life, shaping a relationship that burned with both brilliance and fragility. In her memoir, Then Again, Keaton wrote of her admiration for his intensity, calling him unique and brilliant. She was drawn to his mystery and refusal to play by anyone's rules. But loving Pacino wasn't easy. He was a man consumed by art, terrified of being ordinary, always chasing something just beyond reach. Keaton confessed that Al was a love who both awakened and challenged her, a man whose private nature made closeness difficult. Their romance lasted, off and on, through the filming of the Godfather trilogy, a storm of devotion and distance that neither could truly escape. On set, their connection gave life to Michael and Kay, two people bound by love, undone by destiny. Off-screen, they shared quiet nights filled with laughter and sudden silences. She longed for commitment. He feared it. In Then Again, Keaton shared her desire for stability, writing, "I was mad for him, but it was hard to build a life with someone so private." When she finally walked away, it wasn't from anger. It was from exhaustion. Still, she never spoke ill of him. Even decades later, she called him brilliant in interviews, her admiration undimmed. Pacino, too, carried her with him. After her passing in 2025, he said, "She brought me happiness, and on more than one occasion influenced the direction of my life." It wasn't a love story with an ending. It was one that simply lived on, quietly, between every line they ever spoke on screen. Number 3. Jill Clayburgh. Before Al Pacino became a star, before the awards and the myth, there was Jill Clayburgh, the woman who believed in him when he was still finding his way. They met in the late 1960s in the unpredictable world of New York theater. Both were hungry artists, barely surviving, yet dreaming of stages that would one day remember their names. Jill, a Barnard graduate with a radiant intelligence, had a strength that softened Pacino's brooding intensity. Together, they navigated the struggles of aspiring actors, their ambition the only wealth they had. Their shared passion for theater bound them through lean years, supporting each other's dreams. When Pacino joined Lee Strasberg's Actors Studio, Jill was a steady presence, offering support as he honed his craft. In his memoir, he acknowledged her role during his early struggles, writing, "I had to live on support from ex-girlfriend Jill Clayburgh." Her belief in his potential was a lifeline in those uncertain days. Their love was pure, but the weight of their ambitions eventually pulled them apart. When The Godfather catapulted Pacino to international fame, Jill was carving her own path, soon to become an acclaimed actress in An Unmarried Woman. They remained connected, bound by mutual respect and memory rather than romance. When she passed away in 2010, Pacino's reflections in his memoir revealed his gratitude for her early faith in him, a quiet acknowledgement of her impact. In a life filled with applause and betrayal, Jill Clayburgh remained something sacred, the one who loved him before the legend existed, when he was just Al, chasing a dream and a purpose. Number 4. Marthe Keller. By the mid-1970s, Al Pacino had become one of Hollywood's most magnetic figures, a man whose performances burned with a kind of holy fire. But fame came at a cost: isolation, exhaustion, and the quiet ache of loneliness that even applause couldn't drown out. It was during this restless period that he met Marthe Keller, the Swiss-born actress who would bring both peace and disruption to his life. They met while filming Bobby Deerfield in 1976, a romantic drama set in the glittering yet melancholy world of Formula One racing. Off-camera, their chemistry was undeniable, fragile, intimate, and immediate. Keller was unlike anyone Pacino had known, elegant, intellectual, and fiercely independent. Their relationship unfolded across European locations during the film's production, in fleeting moments between long stretches of work. Both actors were perfectionists, consumed by their craft, and their connection reflected that intensity. In a 2017 interview with The Guardian, Keller reflected, "He was the man of my life," acknowledging the depth of their bond. Their romance lasted on and off for 4 to 6 years, a blend of affection and challenges shaped by their demanding careers. But as their paths diverged, it faded, not from bitterness, but from inevitability. She returned to European cinema. He went back to New York, his emotional armor once again in place. Decades later, Keller spoke fondly of him in The Guardian, calling him the man of my life, a testament to their enduring connection. For Pacino, Marthe was a reminder that love could exist in fragments, beautiful, fleeting, and unforgettable. She didn't stay in his life forever, but she stayed in his memory as the woman who reminded him, if only for a while, how to feel again. Number 5. Tuesday Weld. If Diane Keaton was the woman who matched Al Pacino's fire, then Tuesday Weld was the flame that refused to be contained. They met in the early 1970s, during a time when Pacino's fame was rising with Serpico, yet his heart seemed adrift. Tuesday, the enigmatic blonde once hailed as Hollywood's golden rebel, was no stranger to intensity. She'd worked with the best, from Elvis Presley to Robert De Niro, and carried within her a rare mix of vulnerability and defiance that drew Pacino like a moth to light. Their connection was immediate, electric, but complicated. Pacino was drawn to her independence, her refusal to conform. Weld, on the other hand, found in him a kindred soul, someone who understood the loneliness of fame. They dated briefly, their relationship a fleeting moment of shared intensity during the filming of Serpico. In his memoir, Sonny Boy, Pacino reflects that their breakup left him pretty sad, a shadow that bled into his performance. They shared a mutual respect, even after they parted ways. There were no public scandals, no bitter endings, just two artists whose paths diverged. For Pacino, Tuesday represented a fleeting chapter in an otherwise tumultuous life. In Sonny Boy, he acknowledges the emotional weight of their brief affair, a connection that lingered in his memory. Tuesday, Weld was never the one, but she was the spark that reminded Pacino that love, at its best, doesn't have to last forever to be unforgettable, it just has to be real. Number 6. Beverly D'Angelo. By the late 1990s, Al Pacino was no longer just a Hollywood legend. He was a man who had lived through fame, fire, and 1,000 fleeting loves. Then came Beverly D'Angelo, the woman who would change the rhythm of his life not through passion alone, but through the quiet gravity of family. She was an actress known for her own brilliance, warm, funny, and fiercely grounded. When they met in the late 1990s, neither was searching for forever, but both were searching for meaning. Their relationship blossomed in the shadow of maturity. Pacino, already in his late 50s, had learned the cost of constant motion. Beverly brought calm, laughter, and a touch of domestic chaos that softened his edges. In 2001, they welcomed twins, Olivia and Anton, a miracle born of unlikely timing. For the first time, Pacino wasn't rehearsing for a role, he was living one. "My kids give my life balance," he said in a 2014 New Yorker interview. "They remind me what's real." Though the relationship ended in 2003, their bond never fractured. Co-parenting became a different kind of love story, one built on respect and shared devotion. D'Angelo once recalled, "Al and I are not conventional, but we're family. Always will be." They continued to support one another publicly, rarely letting the media in. For Pacino, Beverly represented something sacred, a bridge between his restless past and his grounded present. "She gave me the best gift of all," he once said softly, "a reason to slow down." In a life defined by art and solitude, Beverly D'Angelo was the chapter that taught him that love doesn't always need to burn to matter. Sometimes it simply needs to stay, steady, quiet, enduring, in the faces of two children who carry his smile. At 85, Al Pacino looks back not as a conqueror, but as a man who has lived deeply, imperfectly, beautifully. The faces that shaped his heart form a mosaic of memory. Each woman carried a piece of him, just as he carried a piece of them. Fragments of love, regret, and gratitude woven through time. He never married, perhaps because he understood that love, in its truest form, is not possession, but remembrance. In a 2015 Guardian interview, Pacino reflected, "Kids changed my perspective. They make you think about what matters." A nod to the lessons of love and loss that defined his life. And maybe that's the lesson that lingers. Because behind the legend stands a man who spent his life searching, not for perfection, but for connection. And as the lights fade and the curtain closes, we're left with one final question. Who among those we love truly shapes the person we become? Tell us in the comments. Whose love do you think defined Al Pacino the most? And if you felt something tonight, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from legendary archives.